What's up, guys? This is Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, bringing you guys our Week 11 match of NCL. Yes, I know, it's not our Week 10 match, it's our Week 11 match. If you haven't seen my team builder, you won't know why. But if you saw my team builder, you'll know why. Dom is unfortunately having some flooding issues at his house in Ohio, so we will not be playing Dom just quite yet. And so I guess I'm kind of like reversing my battles, where Jed said that he would be ready, and so I said I would be ready, and so we both agreed to play during Week 10 for a Week 11 match. So essentially, this is going up as in place of my Week 10 match for now, and then next week will be in place of my Week 11 match, even though it'll just be reversed. That's all you need to know. Yeah, so let's run through Jed's team then. He has Tornadus-Therian, Rotom-Wash, Kyurem, Gardevoir, Gourgeist, Hitmonchan, Mega Beedrill, Jirachi, Aerodactyl, Nidoking, and Alolan Persian. I prepped really hard for the Mega Beedrill, which didn't come. I was not expecting Hitmonchan or Gourgeist, and Gourgeist actually did make it for some reason. I really felt that I checked Gourgeist offensively with pretty much everything, but we'll sort of see what sort of set he's going to be. I did prep extensively for Gourgeist Small, and not so much any of the other forms, so we'll sort of see how that goes. Rotom-Wash, I'm not happy to see because it's a pain in the ass for my Sandslash. If he didn't bring that, Sandslash would have 6-0'd him. Torn is just a pain in the ass. I don't know, there's not much more to say than that. I'm expecting Scarf Jirachi, like a Focus-Ass lead arrow or something interesting, and Life Orb Nidoking seems fine against my team. He outspeeds most of my walls with Nidoking, and if he's running like max speed, he can speed time max speed Como and blow it back with an Ice Beam too, so I'm not sure what to think about there. Alolan Persian would have been decent pivot against me, but overall wasn't a great bring. And then Mega Beedrill, again, I didn't have a lot for, but I'm happy to say that Rotom-Heat doesn't need to wall two things this game, it only needs to wall the Jirachi. So I'm actually going to... Actually, you guys haven't heard my spiel. If you haven't seen my team builder, you should check it out, but otherwise, let's talk about it real quick here. Fizdef, Rotom-Heat, we're a fast support Mew with Toxic and Rocks. Icy Rock, Alolan Ninetales with Veil. Ground EMZ, SD 3 attack Sandslash, SD 3 attack Mega Pinsir, and we're Life Orb speed boosting Nihilego. So I'm going to lead with my Mew. I actually had clicked Rotom-Heat and then I cancelled it because I didn't want to risk him leading Rotom-Wash, because Rotom-Heat was too important for me to have for Jirachi, and I didn't want him to run Rotom-Wash, be running a little bit of speed investment, excuse me. I didn't want him to be running a little bit of speed investment and just OHKO me with Hydro Pump. So instead I'm going to lead with Mew, which is a much more neutral play. I'm expecting either Aerodactyl, Jirachi, Rotom-Wash, or Torn. Jirachi and Torn I'm expecting to U-turn. Rotom-Wash I'm expecting to Volt Switch. Aerodactyl I'm expecting to set up Rocks. So he is going to lead the Jirachi against my Mew, and I clicked Shadow Ball this turn, and he gets the Iron Head off, and he flinches me with the Iron Head. I just wanted to sort of get some damage on this Jirachi, chip it down a little bit. Obviously, I can't touch it with the Willow. I'm not running Will-O-Wisp for it, obviously, so I can't do much there. But I'm assuming he's Scarfed, and I think he's locked in with Iron Head. It's not boosting item damage, so I'm just going to go to my Rotom-Heat, eat the hit. And we'll just eat, you see we eat that Iron Head for days, we just heal all the damage back. He does have to go to Rotom-Wash now. I made the Volt Switch play over, and I was really happy that I Volt Switched there because it does a decent chunk. It shows me that he's physically defensive Rotom-Wash as well because I'm not invested in my Volt Switch, but he could have gotten Nidoking there. Could have been risky because I was in on Jirachi, so Overheat seemed like a good play to me. And that's why he went into Rotom-Wash, I believe. So Volt Switch lets me go into Alolan Ninetales here, which is my best thing to threaten this thing out. Freeze Dry is going to absolutely obliterate this thing, and the Hail Chip is obviously helpful. So I'm going to get up my Veil as he's going to Pain Split, and now I'm going to be able to Freeze Dry him. I need him chipped to do the most with my Sandslash, and I've just got really good chip there. Bait the Defog, so we see that the Rotom is his Defogger. Could have been the Torn, could have been the Arrow, but we see that Rotom is the Defogger. Freeze Dry is obliterating this thing. It's 2-shot every time, and he has to switch out here. So I sort of just went for the Freeze Dry just to finish this thing off if I could, but he does end up switching into Jirachi, I believe, on this turn on my Freeze Dry. So I'm chipping down the Jirachi as well, which is probably okay. Overall, getting the Hail Chip, any chip on the Jirachi is a good chip, and honestly, the Rotom being as chipped as it is so good for me, so good. That's the only thing stopping Sandslash. Honestly, that's what I saw at the beginning of the game. Sandslash obliterates this team, minus the Rotom-Wash. and I needed a little bit of chip on Jirachi to make sure that Z Earthquake killed this thing without having to get a Sword Stance up. Otherwise, Icicle Crash blows back the Nidoking and the Gourgeist of the Torn. Pardon me. And Iron Head blows back the arrow. So I just need a little. I have the chip on Jirachi. I'm not quite there. I basically need Rotom-Wash dead or low enough because Icicle Crash at +2 is only doing like 20%. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to go into my Rotom-Heat, or sorry, into my Mew this time, and he does show the Iron Head again. And I'm gonna try and break through again. And I think oh no, sorry, I double into Rotom-Heat because I'm pretty sure he's Scarfed, and so I'm just gonna eat the hit and be able to come back on it. And this time I go for Overheat. No, I go for Willow. So this time I opt to burn the Rotom because I know he's not going back into Rotom-Wash again. Sorry, so I was going to opt to burn the Jirachi if he was Scarfed. I know he's not going Rotom-Wash again. There's no reason for him to go Rotom-Wash and risk the Volt Switch when he's that low. And now I'm just going to Overheat on the Nidoking. He's actually going to show off that this is his rocker, which is interesting. Makes me question my life decisions about the Aerodactyl. And then I think he's going to switch into Rotom on my Overheat now again. And so I'm not doing a whole lot of damage there. I'm actually going to opt to switch into my Mew because it's going to give him the least amount of HP from Pain Split here. It's really not giving him a whole lot, and I can go for the Toxic and get a Toxic off on this Rotom, which is what I desperately need, and I do hit the Toxic, which is really good. He's going to Volt Switch into Gourgeist Super. Worthy to note that he's Super. He doesn't show Frisk, and this is a big thing later on. He's actually Pickup, and so I'm a little bit confused as to why he didn't scout my item. Not that it mattered, because he's seen my leftovers already, but Frisk should have activated there. Yeah, anyways, I'm going to go for the Toxic. Excuse me, because that's what I want to get on him is a Toxic. Wear this thing down a lot. And I'm actually going to miss, which really sucks as he subs. I'm not going to let him be behind a sub with my Mew still alive, so I'm just going to Shadow Ball it and break it. I'm really glad about having Shadow Ball there, as he's actually a sub-seed set. I can definitely get a Toxic off this time, but I'm actually going to opt to Roost as he's going to sub again. I'm just going to break his sub again. I figured that was the best turn to get a bunch of HP back, because he seems like he can't touch me. Otherwise, he would have gone for a Ghost-type move. And he's going to Toxic me now. If he was still behind sub, the Synchronize would have failed, but because I broke the sub, the Toxic synchronizes back onto him, which I was okay with. And I think I just go through the motions here. I'm pretty sure I got... Oh yeah, so I got my Rocks now. Rocks are really important to get more chip on the Rotom, to break a Sash on the Aerodactyl, to put the Nidoking in range of anything, literally anything, and to put the Torn in range of some other stuff. So he tried subbing again there, thinking that I was going to break it, and he's just getting worn down by the Toxic. Nihilego comes in, I can break his sub with a Power Gem for sure, even a especially defensive one. I always break the sub with Power Gem, so he's going to rest, and he shows Resto Chesto, which is really good tech to get rid of the Toxic, but now he doesn't have that, and Sludge Wave is a lot of damage against him. He's going to Leech Seed me, which isn't the biggest deal in the world. I'm actually going to predict him to go into Jirachi here and Power Gem. It wasn't a necessarily a prediction that he was going into Jirachi, but I figured in case he goes into Jirachi, then Sludge Wave is definitely not the play, because I don't want to give him an immunity. And now I'm kind of okay with sacking off Nihilego. I wanted to get into my Rotom-Heat for free because the rocks are up now, and just in case he U-turned, I figured Nihilego was still the best play to stay in here. So I'm just going to Foul Play him. And it turns out that he's not Scarf the whole time. He's actually Z Sandstorm to get rid of my Hail, which is really cool tech, but he was max speed, which is why I thought that, which is why I lost the speed tie against Mew turn 1, because it wasn't a speed type. I'm not running max speed on Mew, I'm running 1 point less than max speed. So we get a kill with Nihilego on the Jirachi, really big, although now Grandium Z on my Alolan Sandslash is completely worthless, especially because the Nidoking is that low as well. So there you go. I'm running a worthless item on my Sandslash when I could be running Life Orb and actually pick the kill off on Rotom-Wash. Either way, we'll get our speed boost, and he brings in Torn, and so the only way that he doesn't just lose 2 more Mons right now is if he's Scarf Torn. AV Torn, depending on the bulk that he has, AV Torn still potentially dies to Power Gem here. If he's not AV, he absolutely dies to Power Gem here. And so we'll see right now that he is actually Scarf Torn, and the U-turn, I didn't actually calc U-turn damage, I wasn't being super careful with it, but my Power Gem is going to blow back the Gourgeist, and I'm going to die to my Life Orb Recoil. So the Nihilego set kind of worked. I wasn't super thrilled about it anyways, considering he didn't bring the Mega Beedrill, and he didn't bring the Gardevoir. I was actually really expecting Gardevoir, and I talked about this in my team builder, I think. But the reason I was expecting it is because he could trace the Slush Rush on Sandslash, and then he could reverse sweep me, because Gardevoir outspeeds Sandslash in Hail. And so if he brought like an HP Fire variant of Gardevoir, then he could have absolutely obliterated my team with Slush Rush Gardevoir. But he didn't bring it, so I was really happy about that. Again, Nihilego was really meant to blow through things like Kyurem and things like Mega Beedrill once I got a speed boost up. And he didn't bring either of them. So Nihilego wasn't looking that great against his team overall at that stage anyways. I was really happy to take the Jirachi out. It was the one thing I wasn't expecting to kill, and I ended up wearing down the Gourgeist super quite a bit with it. So now I can bring in my Ninetales, and I'm not going to let him rest here. I thought about just letting him rest and get my Veil up to set up with Sandslash, but I don't believe I'd seen its entire moveset, so I wasn't sure if it had Will-O-Wisp or not, technically, so I just opted to take the kill. And now Torn comes in. I'm expecting the Heat Wave, so I'm just going to go into my Mew, I want to say. I go to Mew. Pretty sure I go to Mew. Yeah. As he actually shows the Iron Tail and misses. I was okay with that. I kind of... now he's actually just going to hit the Iron Tail and kill me. I thought that was actually really risky, because I could have healed up if he'd missed another Iron Tail, and then I would have been in a really good spot. But there you go. Didn't work out that way. Iron Tail is not doing anything to my Mega Pinsir. It's really not doing anything, and I actually misplay really hard here by Mega Evolving. This could have gone so much better for me, but I do just opt to Mega Evolve and kill the Nidoking switching in. What I should have done is that I knew he was going to switch out, right? Because I know he's locked into Iron Tail, because I 100% know he's Scarfed. So I could have stayed in regular form, and I could have returned in regular form, because I am Moxie. So if I'd returned in regular form and he just sacks the Nidoking there, I'm now a +1 Pinsir. And if he brought in Aerodactyl, I could have Mega Evolved, and +1 Quick Attack is doing a lot more than a neutral Quick Attack to the Aerodactyl. It's still doing a lot to the Aerodactyl, don't get me wrong. Like, you're going to see that this does a lot more than I expected, but I could have done like 30% or something. Obviously, the Aerodactyl is going to revenge kill me, but now I can go into Sandslash. I have 3 turns of Hail left, which should be enough to win, potentially. Well, it really depends on the Rotom-Wash, which is just going to come in right now. And I really thought I was in a bad spot here, but I could just go into Ninetales. Even if he Hydro Pumps, it's not the end of the world. I'm pretty sure I can still live the hits. And he actually opted to Pain Split, which is what I was predicting, was the Pain Split, because he'd shown it earlier, and that was kind of what he wanted to heal Rotom-Wash up with. Because if the Rotom-Wash is alive, then Sandslash can't win, but otherwise Sandslash can win. So I'm just going to opt to Freeze Ray here. It's going to do the most of the Torn. I thought about Moonblast, but Freeze Ray is going to do the most of both of them anyways. And then Torn's going to come in, and he has to either A, lock himself into Iron Tail against me, or B, lock himself into Heat Wave against me. And he's actually going to lock himself into Smackdown as I switch in my Rotom-Heat, which isn't doing anything to my Rotom-Heat because I'm fully physically defensive anyways. And it's only like a 50 base power rock move, not coming off of Stab. So I can Volt Switch, get a ton of damage off here, and go into my Sandslash and clean up the game. So we do pick up a 3-0 win over Jed, which secures us at minimum wildcard 1 in the playoffs, despite the fact that I haven't played Dom yet. I'm also now 8-2, which is a better way to get to 10-2. And Sandslash picked up a couple kills, which I don't know if Sandslash actually had any kills before this match, but there you go. I opted to not risk the Icicle Crash miss there, and I just Iron Headed at the end. I thought about just like throwing off Z Earthquake because it didn't matter, and he couldn't kill me with Smackdown anyways. But if he crit me like twice, then I was in a bad spot. So instead, I didn't want to BMM, so I just played it out that way. Big win over Jed, honestly. Again, we do play Dom at some point, but we have a rematch against Phil in week 12, so keep an eye out for both of those games. I'm pretty sure my match against Dom will definitely be going up before my match against Phil, but we do have a rematch against Phil, like I said. My rematch against Phil is probably not going to matter. Like, the only thing... There's 2 things that it might matter for. A, it could matter if I could win the division against Ben still, which potentially might not even happen, because if Ben wins out, then he's just going to win the division anyways. And the only other thing it might matter for is if I want to go 10, if I really badly want to go 10-2. The problem with that is that I might match up against Phil in the first round of playoffs, like I've been saying for like since week 6 or something like that. I might be matching up against Phil in the playoffs, and so I don't want to try super hard in that match because it's our second matchup and it could be 2 out of 3. I don't really want to bring my best stuff if I'm going to match up against him against playoffs, you know? So I'm sort of going to scout it out, and I think Phil and I are going to end up, well, I don't know about Phil, but I'm definitely going to try and schedule for later in that week so I can find out closer to whether or not I'm going to be playing him in the playoffs or not. So anyways, that's going to be for me, and I will catch you guys for week 10 and week 12. This is obviously week 11 going up on the wrong week.